hands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Uncover. O God, eternal Father and everlasting King of heaven, we render your acknowledgement of your supreme dominion over us and guide you for paternal solitude and watchfulness. As we gather here in humble recognition of your divine providence, we beseech you to usher into our world the confusion and doubt, the peace and tranquility of love which you come through. Bless and protect our nation. Be merciful to our honored dead, remember those whose valor, courage, and heroism inspire us to noble action, to eternal vigilance, the preservation of private liberty, and of our unalienable rights to endure happiness. Amen.
Amen.
Holy name.
Cover.
We now have the Presidential Proclamation read by Ed O'Hara.
Battery doesn't like it cold.
It's working though, right?
I'm going to run it until it runs out.
Exact battery intake.
Our veterans represent the very best of America. They have bravely answered the call to serve in the finest military force in the world, and have earned the dignity that comes with wearing the uniform and defending our great flag. On Veterans Day, we honor all Americans who have served in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, both in times of war and peace. For nearly 100 years since the end of World War I, Veterans Day has given us time to pay due respect to our veterans who have passed the torch of liberty from one generation to the next. Part of paying our respect means committing to our nation's sacred obligation to care for those who have protected the freedom we often take for granted. I have pledged to provide our service members with the best equipment, resources, and support in the world. Support that must continue after the return to life as civilians. This is why veterans' health care is top priority for my administration. I have signed legislation that improves accountability at the Department of Veterans Affairs and provide additional funding for Veterans Choice Program, which ensures veterans continue to receive care in their communities from providers they trust. I have also signed legislation to give veterans GI Bill education benefits for their lifetime, and legislation to fix the VA appeals process to ensure veterans can access the resources they are rightly due. Additionally, this Veterans Day, more than 50 years from the beginning of the Vietnam War, I will be in Da Nang, Vietnam, with leaders of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum, as we discuss ways Americans and Vietnamese once fought a war we are compelled to recall and recognize the sacrifice of more than 8 million Vietnam veterans who served there. Beginning with those who arrived in the first American troop deployment in 1965 and ending with those who fought through the ceasefire in 1973. These men and women dedicated themselves during one of the most challenging periods in our history to promoting freedom across the globe. Many spent years away from their loved ones as they endured the battles of the burden of battles, and some experienced profound pain and anguish as their fellow warriors, more than 50,000 of them, lost their lives. Some of these heroes have yet to return home, as 1,253 American sons and daughters still remain missing. Along with our Vietnamese partners, however, we continue to work to account for them and to bring them home to American soil. We will not rest until this work is done. With respect for and recognition of the contributions our service members have made to the cause of peace and freedom around the world, the Congress has provided that November 11th of each year shall be set aside as a legal public holiday to honor our nation's veterans. As Commander-in-Chief of our heroic armed forces, I humbly thank our veterans and their families as we remember to honor their service and their sacrifice. Now therefore I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, do hereby proclaim November 11, 2017 as Veterans Day. I encourage all the fortitude and sacrifice of our veterans through public ceremonies and private thoughts and prayers. I call upon federal, state, and local officials to display the flag of the United States and to participate in patriotic activities in their communities. I call on all Americans, including civic and fraternal organizations, places of worship, schools, and communities, to support this day with commemorative expressions and programs. In witness thereof, I hereby set my hand the 7th day of November, the year of our Lord, 2017, in the independence of the United States and 242nd. Donald J. Trump.
We will now have the Veterans Day tribute by Joe Wheeler of the VFW. Today is a day that we honor the noble and the brave, the men and women who dedicated their lives and the sacrifices that they have made. When America had an urgent need, they were first to raise their hands without thinking twice about it. They were proud to take a stand. Some came back from the war with battle scars. Others came back in flag-draped coffins. Even though their flesh may have left, their spirits will never be forgotten. They unselfishly and knowingly put their lives on the line. So when you see a veteran, thank them, because without them, freedom would have died. Thank you. God bless the veterans and the United States of America. Now have remarks from the Board of Selectmen. Donna.
On behalf of the town of Westport and the Westport Board of Selectmen, I would like to thank all of you who have served our country. I want to thank you not just for your service while you were in uniform. Your experiences that you had shaped and transformed you, and you brought that back with you when you came back to your communities. You continue to serve your communities in or out of uniform. Your communities need to learn from you, and I urge you to share your stories, because we need to hear about duty and honor and loyalty and commitment and fear and courage and bravery. And we need you to continue serving us by sharing that so we can learn from you. Some of you came back with terrible burdens, and I would urge you to consider sharing your stories so that your community can help you. We want to share your burden. We want to serve you in the way that you served us. Lastly, I want to thank the family members and the people who loved and supported you, because it isn't just you, it's your mothers and your wives and your husbands and your parents and your siblings all go with you, carry you with you. Thank you.
Is freedom just a wisp of smoke drifting in the wind? As soon as peace is settled, just forget the cost of men. On this day, especially, I think of all veterans who are being neglected. Though they answer the country's call, who deserves our taxes more? No one on this earth than the ones who fought to save this land. How much is freedom worth? Those boots marched through the muddy fields and the Agent Orange of Bam, in the freezing cold of Germany and the boiling desert sand, should have the care they need when they get back. It's not too much to ask. The wounded should have instant help and not have to wait till last. When playing our national anthem brings you to your feet, and the waving "Oh Glory" makes your heart beat fast, and when the bugle's mournful notes of taps bring tears to your eyes, remember all the veterans who gave you years of their lives. And now our guest speaker, retired Lieutenant Colonel Donald Alden.
Welcome to today's ceremony, and thank you for attending. I'm honored to be speaking with you today on such an important occasion. We are gathered here, as we always are, on November 11th to honor all veterans who served the United States of America with unflinching courage and selflessness. To me, Veterans Day is a day of reflection, much like Memorial Day. Unlike other holidays which are celebratory, Christmas, 4th of July. And I would ask that we reflect on what a fortunate country we are. Our country is a democracy. We have a constitution. The Constitution has a Bill of Rights. The first 10 amendments, which protect us from our government by giving the individual liberties, such as the freedom of the press, freedom to speak, freedom of religion, freedom from arrest, and so on, the 10 amendments. Our form of government, this form of government allows us to go to bed each night with a residence without fear of hunger, sickness, or a knock on the door from authorities. Our citizens enjoy many freedoms and prosperous ways of life, and we are at liberty to accomplish most anything. Now, and I would ask you further to join with me in reflecting how this all came about. And I want to share with you my vision of our country's troops during the American Revolutionary War. Our troops shivering in the cold at Valley Forge with barely enough food and clothing to survive that winter, and scarcely enough ammunition and cannon to carry on combat operations against the British. Somehow, General Washington's army, our country's first veterans, held together to defeat the British. As a result, the Constitution with the Bill of Rights was enacted. Without the defeat of the British, our great leaders such as Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Quincy Adams, James Monroe, and James Madison, the drafter of the Bill of Rights, would all have been hung as traitors by the British, and God only knows what kind of government we would have ended up with. Now, since the Revolutionary War, our veterans ended the slavery in the Civil War, stopped Germany from taking over all of Europe during World War I, stopped the genocide of Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan regimes during World War II, prevented aggression during the Korean War, attempted to establish a democracy in Vietnam, and have toppled or successfully confronted the terrorist regimes in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Africa. Millions of veterans have fought and died on the battlefields here and abroad to defend our freedoms and way of life, and to defend other nations so that they may have similar freedoms. I ask you, can we rightfully celebrate the joy of our freedom and way of life without remembering the great price paid for that freedom? In the words of one speaker, we stagger at the eternal debt we owe to the untold number of American veterans who chose to set aside their personal ambitions and dreams, the beneficiary of those who make tremendous sacrifices for the advancement and surety of our liberty. I refer to the untold number of American veterans, and I want to put a face on the American veterans. And I'm going to start with 22-year-old Corporal Jonathan Yale, described as a poor kid from Virginia with a wife and a daughter. and his mother and sister lived with him. And he supported them on a $23,000 salary of corporal. Corporal Yale was killed by a suicide truck bomber on April 22nd, 2008. He received the Silver Star for killing the truck driver, but not before the truck, packed with 2,000 pounds of explosive, stopped within 10 feet of his bunker. To my right, interred in a grave site, was a member of this community, Lee St. Orange. He was a Silver Star recipient during World War II. On his hands, on his elbows and knees, he crawled up to a German machine gun bunker and threw a hand grenade, taking out that German submarine bunker and helping a bit to shorten the World War II with the Germans. These are the untold Americans who have gone and supported and kept us safe and maintained our freedoms. Again, I want to thank you once again for being here this morning for the celebration of our veterans. May God bless you, God bless our servicemen and women, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Join the honor guard intact.
Good morning, everybody. I'm glad you came out this morning on this little chilly morning we have going. Real quick, we got coffee and donuts over at the American Legion on Sanford Road. Feel free to go by, have a chit chat with some people. One thing I want to tell everybody is in August I went up to Boston and found out from someone I know up there of how many veterans, how many of Westport's finest men and women have joined the military since 9/11. Well, you should be proud. 452. Which I thought was a big number for such a small town. And right now, Private Rodriguez, post. And this is one of your newest members, Sergeant Rodriguez. Thanks everybody for coming out. Have a great Veterans Day.